Well, hello again. This is Dr. Greg Oliver from Fat Doctor TV, and today we're talking to you from the workout room. Doing a little treadmill action here today, as I do on a daily basis. Didn't always do that, so you got to start somewhere. And hopefully the drone of the treadmill isn't louder than my voice here today. So obviously today we're going to talk about a little exercise. When I have dietary clinic or weight management clinic in my office, a lot of people come in and they have the question of, well, shouldn't I be exercising? And the answer is yes. But let's look at that for a minute and let's be real about that. A lot of times when people are carrying 30, 50, 75, 100 or more pounds over their ideal weight, it's very difficult for them to exercise on a regular basis. They haven't been doing much. They've been sedentary. There are a few people who we call fit and fat, but that's a small percentage who can be overweight and exercise and be very fit. But what we find is that most people haven't been exercising, so you got to start slow. I know there's lots of tapes and television shows and weight loss television shows, reality shows that show these 400-pound people just really gutting it out and doing all this, and most of that I think is for sensationalism and effect. They obviously do well, but on a TV show it's hard to really know what's real and what takes time, things like that. So what I recommend is, if you're just starting to lose weight, you're just starting on a program, for the first 2 weeks, if you've not been exercising at all, what you want to do is you really want to not exercise. Now I know there's some people out there clapping their hands going, yes, I don't want to exercise, because every time I start to exercise I get sore muscles and I feel worse. And a lot of women say, when I start exercising vigorously I start gaining weight, and I don't want to do that. So I recommend at the beginning of a dietary program, focus on the eating for 2 weeks. Then what I say is, start a reasonable exercise program, and let me outline what I think reasonable is. During those first 2 weeks, when you're focusing on eating alone, I want you to wear a pedometer. And a pedometer is a little device you hook on your belt or your shirt or maybe even your purse, and it counts the number of steps that you walk. And every day record the number of steps that you walk. So if it's only 200 or 300, fine, write it down. If it's 2,000 or 3,000, fine, write it down. At the end of that 2-week period, and if you want to just do it for a week, that's okay. But at the end of that period of time, you're going to average the number of steps you normally take in a day. So that's a simple calculation. If you did 14 days and you did 100 steps a day, that's 1,400 steps total divided by 14. That's 100 steps a day. So you just do the math on that and figure out what your average number of steps per day is. Now once you know that, it's going to be easy to set some step or walking goals. So let's say you walk 1,000 steps a day, which is reasonable. That's getting up in the morning, getting out of bed, walking to the shower, walking to the kitchen, walking to the car, walking to your desk at work, walking to the cafeteria. You do 1,000 steps a day on average. Now you can set some realistic goals. So here's a goal for you. You've got your baseline number. You've been eating properly for 2 weeks. You've dropped some weight. You're feeling good about yourself. Your attitude is excellent. The next step is to say, my goal this week is to walk 1,200 steps a day. So you're going to add 200 steps a day. Now that means you've got to do something more than the things you were just doing every day. So you're going to add 200 steps. That's a very, very small increase. Now if that scares you, just add 100 steps per day. That's fine. That's a 10% increase in your activity. And a lot of times with exercise, I don't like to go above 10% a week, either in intensity or volume. So even 1,100 steps would be ideal. The next week you're going to add, say, another 10, 15%. So if you're at 1,100, you may go up to 1,250 or 1,225, whatever you want to do. But the key here is gradual build-up. Now, you'll do this and you say, well, I'm not getting sore. But you're doing something. You're starting a trend in your mind. you're also training muscles to start doing things they've never done. Now, if you're someone who does do some exercise, even though you're overweight, maybe you're coming in at 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 steps because you go to the gym or you do some things. Certainly when you increase by 10%, you're going to be increasing 500 steps if you're doing 5,000. That's fine. It's all relative. Start where you are at and gradually build up from there. Reminds me of a story. I was a lecture series by one of my motivational gurus, Zig Ziglar, and he said he was overweight so much that he really had a hard time getting going on the exercise, and about all he could do was walk to the mailbox to get the mail and back. But he decided to start exercising, and so he decided that this next week or next day he was going to go to the next mailbox. So he walked to his mailbox, walked to the neighbor's mailbox, and back. And once he was able to accomplish that, he went to the next neighbor's mailbox. And now he jogs a couple miles a day. So starting out slowly is the key. I see so many people in my office that want to exercise to lose that weight, but I tell them this: look, exercise is about your health, increasing cardiovascular activity, and it's about long-term weight loss. No one is going to go to the gym and hit it hard for an hour and get the sweat rolling and burn up and lose pounds in the first week or two. Yet I see it all the time. People will go to the gym every day for 2 weeks and then they quit because they hurt. So slow down the intensity, start off gradually. Once you get your level up where you're feeling like I can accomplish some things, maybe that's the time to get the personal trainer. Or that's the time to get a buddy who can really work with you. You guys can go out and start burning up those calories, toning up those muscles, and increasing that metabolism. So those are the key things you need to do. I'm walking for an hour each day, about 4 miles an hour. And what I started at was very much slower. Started at about 2.5 to 3 miles an hour, and only for about 15 minutes. So now I'm up to about 3.5 to 4 miles a day. And it's a little hard to talk when you're going 4 miles an hour. One more thing, and that's what I call the rule of the exception. What happens to all of us is we'll be on an exercise program, say 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, some of you even 7 days a week, whatever's best for you. And you do it for 1 week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. And then one day when you're scheduled to exercise, along comes an exception. A meeting has to be attended that gets in that interferes with your scheduled time for exercise. Something happens with one of the kids that's got to be taken care of. Something urgent comes up in your life and you miss your exercise session that day. It's hard to get started again. One exception can throw you off the path. So watch out for the rule of exception. What do you do on those days? Well, I couldn't exercise, I had to go do that. That's not true. You couldn't exercise at that time. But sometime during that day, say you exercise at 7 a.m. every morning and you couldn't do it, then you got to do it at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night. But before you go to bed, get in your exercise, or the brain settles into the rule of the exception and it's hard to get started again. I hear it over and over and over, and it's happened to myself. You miss that one day and it takes months to get back into the pattern. So watch out for the rule of the exception. Another tip here for you is, everyone thinks that Olympic athletes and star athletes just jump out of bed excited and ready to hit the gym. Well, they're not. Now, preparation for the athletic event is the key to everything. If you ask any coach, it's not what happens in the game, it's what happens in the preparation for the game that's important. And if you ask any Olympic athlete who trains for years for a 1 minute or 2 minute event, it's not about the event, it's what happened in those years before. But I've talked to lots of athletes and read about lots of professional athletes who said this: the hardest thing for them when they're in training is to put on their shoes and their shorts. So it's the same for all of us. The difference is they've disciplined their mind that that's going to happen, because the end goal of achieving a medal or achieving a trophy or winning a championship or even winning the game is on their mind. They've got the vision out in the future of what it is they're trying to do. So when you wake up in the morning, if you exercise in the morning, or you get home at night and you exercise at night, remember the toughest thing is putting on the workout clothes, slipping on the workout shorts and the shoes. Once you get that taken care of, the rest is smooth sailing. So I'm going to finish up my workout here today, starting to work up that sweat. And next time we talk to you from Fat Doctor TV, I hope to see less of you. So again, Dr. Greg Oliver from Fat Doctor TV. Have a great day.